Hello, trading is closed on Thursday, January 13th, 2022. Let's start with our disclaimer, as we always do. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, the 14th of January. Just remember, I can be wrong, and all trades should be at your own risk. Let's go over our calls. Look for the pattern with the early high. Tends to be a rally day with a high in the final hour. Failure is a straight line drop, and that's failure. That's a straight line drop. Should lead to more weakness, but doesn't have to happen tomorrow. There were two numbers we were looking for as a possible end to the leg up. One was at yesterday's high, and the other was a few points higher. We said if we didn't gap up and overtake yesterday's high promptly, that we should see lower prices regardless of how we closed, and that certainly happened. We had a signal in the afternoon from MEJT that a higher price would print, but the target printed immediately. These aren't prices or targets, they're also resistance areas. Resistance held. This break was said to retrace to this line, and that's already happened. So today's MEJT targets have already played out. This low here is a target of this prior consolidation, and also look at the blue things of this prior consolidation. And that's not the only reason we have support here. We have a wall into the close, often that gaps up. This was our prediction from yesterday. These are the calls for next week. Monday, we're closed for the MLK holiday. This is where we think we are. We think we have topped out and we're due for much lower prices. This is a trend line. Note we've dropped right to the trend line, but not through it. It's also a 50% retrace of the move from this significant low that we need to undercut to be confident that we've made the high. The rule for dropping to a trend line but not through it is either you gap under the trend line tomorrow or the trend line wins. Here's how I'm counting this. We have this as the end of, we have us in wave blue C. This is A, and this we're calling the top of B. This will be 1. We're calling this A and this B, although it's also possible to call this as 2, and this is 1 of 3. You can't count this as a 5. But I'm calling this A and this B because we have an ABC down, and C is equal to A right here. We don't know if that's the right count, but if it is, and if we get AB with C equal to A, here's A. C comes in just under 46.88 cash. So if we do rally to that level tomorrow, that would be one of the places to look for resistance. It's a very common place. Next week, in fact, tomorrow and early next week, I have personal business. I'm going to try to still post every day, but I won't have as much time to analyze. Friday's pattern has the early low. It could still gap up. We have the wall into the close in the 15-minute chart. Stopped right at a level. Significant support from a number of factors. In addition to the ones I mentioned, there are proprietary targets of someone else. They're based on points and percentage. They go right along with today's low being a significant support. Norm Winsky also has a change in trend time right here. Bears need to gap under today's low to continue the decline unabated. My opinion is either we gap under this low or the low holds at least for a day. The ideal situation, I can't say it's required, but the ideal situation be the gap up tomorrow, which often happens after the wall into the close. Create a wall with gap, and then undercut that low, today's low, early next week. Doesn't mean it has to happen, but it's very common when you have a wall like this to gap up, but those gaps aren't stable. Typically undercut this low. This is a plausible count, and once wave C ends, which could be around 46.88, we could start dropping in the wave 3 down. And don't forget wave blue A was about 248 points. And if we drop 248 points from here, puts us in the low to middle 4500s, which I have as a reasonable target, and not the only target. But if we do have this, the wave 3 down should be hard and fast. So we have support here. Tomorrow has the early low, doesn't stop us from gapping up. If we're going to keep on dropping, we should gap under this. Otherwise, there might be a bounce, but I don't think it'll last very long. And that's today's call.